I think that is also another aspect of being in partnership with horses is that deep invitation to be more in connection with nature and to be in more presence with our own nature. They're always going to show us what's true. Stevie's a good example of this. I won't know that I'm tired and maybe feeling a little bit spicy until she checks me, whether she nibbles me on the side or slows down the process. And then you're
Hmm.
oh, okay, I'm actually not feeling good right now. I always say like, horses are like tuning forks. They're going to show you what's out of alignment and then help to bring it back into alignment. You're willing to meet them there.
There are healers on this planet with the power to soften the suffering of mankind, yet they have remained in the recesses of the world, abused, discarded, and labeled as trash. This is The Touch of a Mustang. I am your host, Shalise Clough, and I'm here to tell the story of wild horses, Mustangs, and the humans who are discovering and sharing their gifts while working to protect their well-being and preserve their spirit so this divine power won't be lost. Join us on this quest with the wild Mustang.
Chloe, thanks so much for being here at the podcast today.
Yes, thank you for having me. It's nice to connect and meet you.
I'm excited to learn more about what you do and the horses that you have in your life. To start with, can you give us a brief rundown for anyone who doesn't know you, isn't familiar with you?
Sure. Yeah. And I just noticed that we both have like sort of the corners of our art are just like horses.
Yeah. I just actually redecorated because this is what you see in the podcast.
I mean, this is it's from the Calgary Stampede. I was born in Calgary in Alberta. And I mean, yeah, it is sort of relevant to to my story because I was born actually during the Calgary Stampede, which is a very big rodeo in Canada. I was born obsessed with horses, like, you know, like many horse girls, it's like out of the womb.
Yeah.
Like horses. And I in Calgary, horses, like it's a very big cow town. There's basically horses everywhere and you're in the Rocky Mountains. So I had this like very strong influx of horse energy when I was born and grew up. But we moved to Malaysia when I was 5 because of my dad's work. And
Wow.
so it was interesting because like I kind of had, you know, this contrast because in Canada, I got really exposed to a more kind of natural relationship with horses. We had friends who had like big acreages and their horses were just like very happy and, you know, would run free and like have all this space and live in herds. And then moving to Malaysia, it was very different. It was basically you're either doing equestrian, riding your horses in stables and they're all in
Hmm.
little stalls, or you're not hanging out with horses. So that was kind of my exposure as a kid. And we would go back to Canada every summer and I would spend time. We ended up buying a property in the foothills of Alberta when I was 12. And I got my childhood horse, adopted him from a kill pen auction. And like it was just like the best experience a person could have with horses. Like I would just spend
Mm.
all day out in the field with him, jump on his back bareback, go riding in the Rockies. Like he was just my everything. And then I would like leave Canada, going back to Malaysia, like kicking and screaming because
Oh, I
I
bet.
felt very contracted and restricted there. But yeah, so I live in Austin, Texas now with our herd of 5. I'm a psychic medium. I worked as a psychic medium since in my 20s and always worked with humans for a large portion of that time, like specifically. But animals have always been like front and center for me. They've always been like the most important beings in my life and my greatest teachers. Like every initiation or big growth moment in my life has been led by animals, whether it's like an animal entering my life or an animal transitioning. And so my dream was always to live as an adult, live on land with horses. And I never really had a specific agenda or vision of what that was going to look like or what we were going to do. I just knew that I needed to be with horses. And it was interesting because for like 10 years or so, I sort of like, I felt like I would always try to get there and then life would be like, no, it's not time yet. Or I would get like rerouted or detoured. And it
Yeah.
was very hard because there would always be that part of me that would be like, is this ever going to happen? Like, maybe this is not going to happen. Like, maybe I'm
Yeah.
just like, you know, this is just like a crazy dream that will never come true. So when we bought this property in 2020, 2023, it was really like a huge metamorphosis, transformative experience for me. And then bringing our horses, or really just like watching them show up, kind of, and the herd being built. And so now what we do here is what I call horse medicine. So really retreats and experiences where people come and stay with us, or come and do like an immersive day experience where we're really just being with horses. And it's kind of a blend where, I will teach and guide and like just talk about horse language and herd behavior, and learning how to safely share space with horses and what it looks like for horses to be sovereign. I don't ride any of the horses that we currently have. It's just intuitively not felt right anymore. And like for me, the most important thing is that my horses feel like safe and heard and seen, and just being able to be horses. And they're all rescues, so they've definitely come from a previous life that wasn't that. So yeah, we kind of do a blend of like animal communication, healing with horses, just working with the herd, observing the herd. And, I kind of bring in psychic medium stuff like readings and whatnot. But yeah, it's a good time.
Your videos from Instagram look so peaceful. Just
Yeah.
so really beautiful, like having a little bit of time or life with the horses in the way that you do. And I love the setup that you have, because when I first moved here, I thought, because we moved to the mountains like 5 years ago from, big change. I thought, oh, we're going to have these nice pastures. And like we ran out of money on the house because it was during COVID. So that the horses just have a big enclosure on all our property, and they're just right around the house. And I absolutely love it. Now I'm like, oh, this is so much better. And I didn't even know to do it this way. But yeah, so I love that. Your videos look really peaceful.
Oh, thank you.
Tell us a little bit about that journey from even like into working as a psychic medium into changing that down the horses. Obviously, horses were a big part of your life that you always wanted to get back to. So
Yeah.
what was that journey getting from there to there?
Yeah, I've got a lot of fire in my chart. So change tends to be like fast and furious and intense. Like, I feel like people always say how someone is born is quite representative of maybe who they are. And I like was born before the doctor came, and like basically, almost came out when my mom was like going pee. So like no one was ready for me, So
Yeah.
that's kind of how I roll. So when we moved to this property and we adopted we basically adopted my first horses, as in Stevie, from Sweet Mercy. I don't know if you know them. They're a rescue here in
I've
Texas.
heard of them.
Yeah, Mariah. So I would always like donate and support to Sweet Mercy and All Seated in the Barn were the ones that I was really drawn to back in 2021, 2022. And so I knew that like my feeling was that I would adopt from Mariah. I just loved her energy, and I could feel that she was also very intuitive with how she chose the horses, or how, when she would go to the Bowie auction every month. And so it's kind of funny because I had been donating to her regularly, so she knew who I was. And we were looking for properties, but we hadn't found one yet. And so I just, felt called to message her one day as I was dreaming up my vision. And I was like, hey, just planting a seed. Like we're, hoping to find land and close on it within this year. And I would love to adopt 2 horses from you. And I sort of just told her a little bit about myself and what I envisioned. And she sent me a picture of Raz. Like she basically just like immediately sent me a picture of Raz.
She's like, I already have him. He's here for you.
I have your horse. Like I'm very specific about who he would go to. He's very sensitive. And as soon as I saw I was like, shit.
All those pictures. Yeah.
So I went to meet him, and we ended up putting him in, because he was at the time in a paddock with 2 mini ponies, and like no shade, love them, but I just knew that they weren't supposed to be a part of my vision. And he was just kind of like paired with them for a couple weeks. And so I was like, well, can we see who else you have? And I grew up with Arabians. Like Arabians are really popular in Asia and stuff. Yeah. And so they had just gotten Stevie from the Bowie auction like 2 weeks prior, and she was young, like maybe 2, still very small and young, but she had a fracture in her hind and an infection. So she wasn't ready to be adopted yet, but they were like still treating her and hoping for the best. But I was like, I feel drawn to her. So once she got better, we tried her and Raziel out together, and they were like immediately like lovers.
Yeah.
Very sweet. So as the story goes, like I got the horses before I got the land, which I feel like can happen because the horse,
Yeah.
like horses live on horse time, and for them, oftentimes I feel, they don't perceive timelines in the same way that humans do, and oftentimes, like even in the process where I knew that they were gonna be mine, but we still hadn't closed on the property, and with buying property there can always be
Yeah.
obstacles and like hiccups, and there were moments where I was like in a lot of self-doubt, like, is this actually going to happen? And I would like connect with them, and they were just like, hurry up, like, figure it
We're
out.
ready. We're waiting. Yeah.
So as soon as they arrived and I arrived, I still kind of was working in the psychic medium space, but I could feel that it was going to change. I had done training in horse medicine leadership and a bunch of things behind the scenes, but it was when my third horse, Dreamer, arrived, and he's a medicine hat, really a magical, like deep horse, deeply sensitive horse. When he arrived, it was like he just like pressed the acceleration is what it felt like. Like as soon as he got here, it was like, it's like when you really have no choice, like all of a sudden all my work, like clients kind of completed things, or, bookings would stop. It's like the energies were just like, this is done and you're moving into this wave. So it was like I felt supported, but I also, horses aren't cheap. Buying properties not cheap.
Yeah.
So there was definitely like, I remember specifically because Tuesdays were always my busiest day for bookings and stuff. And I remember I had this Tuesday where I had nothing. And I remember I just was like, had a moment of panic where I really had to like go sit outside with the horses and be like, what's happening here, guys? Like, yeah, I need some help because this is like a little bit scary. But yeah, I feel like that day was like the precipice of my fear. And then I just stepped into trusting, and then things really unfolded like quite beautifully in terms of the way that stuff started to kind of pour in. So yeah.
Yeah. It is neat how things happen. Maybe not how we would have planned it, but when you look back, it kind of makes sense.
Yeah, you see the beauty later.
Yeah, the way it all aligns, of course. So talk to us about your herd and kind of how you said you don't really ride them anymore, and some of the things that they're doing and things you're learning from them or experiences you've had with them.
Yeah. So they're such a like dynamic collection of beings. Like whenever people come here, they always notice that they're each so unique, which is just fun, because especially with what I do, they each bring something so different to the space, whether it's like their story, what they look like, but also, who they are, their personality, their medicine is what I call it. And with horses, like the medicine is sort of, I love the phrase, your story is your medicine. It's like when we take something that, when we take the entirety of our story and what we've experienced, good and bad, hard and easy, painful and joyful, and we sort of allow that to then become something that is in service, right? Because it's like when we hear someone else's story or we see ourselves in someone else, right? And horses are such natural mirrors and reflectors because they are so present and so attuned to the space, but also so big, right? And so expressive and responsive. So we have, so Raz and Stevie were the first to come. And I mean, Raziel, he's a stunning, like very striking horse. He's very powerful. He's like a pinto. He has like really unique markings though, where I call him kind of like, I'll joke around and call him the international man of mystery in like a British voice, because he kind of reminds me a little bit of James Bond, because he's very, people are always like very drawn to him, and he does like, he's not a stallion, but he kind of feels like a stallion. But he's so deeply sensitive. I mean, they're all so sensitive, but he's definitely like an empath, and he's one who will oftentimes, if someone comes and is navigating fear or anxiety, he'll just step right, like really come right up to you and almost like offer his physical presence of like, you can lean on me, I'll support you in this. So yeah, he's like a true gentle giant.
What is that reaction like if it's people who are anxious and then you have this big, magnificent being kind of coming towards you? What is that like?
It's interesting because I feel like Raziel immediately disarms, because it's like,
Wow.
like he really has such a heart field presence where even though he's this like big horse, it's just like he just softens you. And it's interesting, I had a woman here last week for a retreat, and he's in the paddock with Dreamer, who is different. Dreamer's not going to do that. Dreamer is sort of like will show you your fear, and he's a bit more edgy and like, he's got like more kind of like a dragon in him. And so Dreamer came up to her and that brought stuff up. And then Raziel just like literally just like ushered himself in, moved Dreamer. And then I saw the woman's like her fear kind of came up, and then it was just like whoosh. And that was like even something that she talked about was like how powerful it was to literally watch that energy move in her body and have the two very contrasting experiences. So I feel like I've yet to see someone not sort of like just totally soften in Raziel's presence. And it is interesting because he is a horse who, if he doesn't feel safe, then he will be like quite spooky and like kind of get really big, but also
more reactive.
Yeah, totally.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like he reflects that. He's like, for him, safety is so important. And if he feels safe, which for me is like for Raz, if a person is just there to be there, then he's like, I can do this. But if someone's coming in with an agenda or like a plan, then he's like, okay, I'm not doing this.
Yeah, I'm out.
I'm not doing this. So, but yeah, he's definitely, and I always say like he's kind of the one who started the vision, like he was the first horse for this herd. So I always feel like he's kind of the visionary for what our life is. And even I felt him kind of bring some of the horses in. So, and I feel like he's like, my feeling with Raziel is that he 100% incarnated in this lifetime to be a horse, not like to really not be ridden, to not have to do the song and dance with humans in that way. Like, I feel like he's so deeply passionate about just being in a space of connection and like receptivity with humans. And he loves humans, which is really sweet. Like, he'll definitely be the one who's like comes up to connect if someone's in that space in that way. So yeah.
Is this kind of the vision that you had when you thought about, yourself grown with horses and land, or is that something that evolved as you just learned and experienced with the horses?
I feel like it's always so hard because to go back, because I feel like we remember through a different lens. I feel, and I was actually writing about this. I was thinking about this last night because it's not that I'm not against riding at all. I think that, and I certainly loved riding when I was younger, but it was definitely like when I really feel back to and sort of try to find the truth in it. When the times where I loved riding was when I was at our property in Alberta, when I could really, like, me and my horse had such a deep relationship, and I could just like go and hang out with him in the, a huge acreage and lie on the ground, or just like even just connect to him from afar, or swim with him in the lake with just like a lead rope around his neck. So for me, but like in any experience that I had where I was riding, where I didn't feel that sense of like freedom and truth, where maybe there was like a little bit of ego or performance or restriction or contraction, then it really didn't feel good. So I think that I didn't know exactly what the dream was, but I know that when I was younger with my horse, I would like, that was all I wanted. That was like the only experience that I just wanted to continue having all the time. And I am super, super grateful that I got to have that type of foundational experience with horses, because I do feel like it really anchored that into my energy system to know the difference. Like, I think about if I had only had those experiences in Malaysia, I would know that it didn't feel great, but I wouldn't have anything to reference it to or relate it to. And so when I moved to Canada for college and went to university in Canada, and I got connected to a woman, Hilary Schneider, who is now a good friend of mine. And she was the first person that I met who was actively living out what I was like, this is what it is,
Mm-hmm.
She teaches horse medicine and like has a beautiful property. And she is a guardian of about, give or take at any given time, like 20 to 30 horses.
Wow.
And the way that her horses live is like as close to wild horses, I would say, as possible. The relationship and the way that she lives with them and the way that they are, like it was like a really powerful moment for me to be like, okay, this is the vibe. This is, you know. So
Mm-hmm.
I think that it's like the vision was there, and I'm such a feeling based person, so I think that I felt the dream and the vision, but actually knowing what that looked like and tangibly was, took some experiences to bring forward.
Yeah. So
Yeah,
did you end up studying with Hillary?
I did. Yeah, yeah.
What are
So I
some of
did.
the things that kind of stand out from that period of time?
So I ended up so after when I met Hillary, I must have been in my mid-20s. And so I went and spent like a good port because I was living in Vancouver and she's like interior BC, so it was like a 6-hour drive. So I would go and spend time with her and her herd. Again, with no intention of like doing that or having my own herd at that point, but really just like knowing that I needed to be immersed in it. And then we kind of got like disconnected and, you know, life took me other places, if
Yeah,
you will.
life happened.
And then I actually reconnected with her when we bought this property. And then I ended up doing her a horse medicine leadership program. And for me with her program, it was like, I mean, it was like a coming home, like everything that she taught and that I experienced, it was not like new. It was just kind of like permission and confirmation of the things that I was sensing and feeling. But I mean, the pieces that I love about what Hillary teaches is really the horses come first. And this is definitely something that's really important for me as well. I'm a Cancer, so I'm like very protective. So it's like my horses, them having full agency and choice in terms of how they interact with people, if people are coming into their space, like really establishing safety, what safety looks like, what safety feels like for the human, but also very much for the horses, especially because like when we come to horses for anything, right, the horses being able to be safe in their own home, like it's their home, it's their space. And so when
Yeah.
we come into a horse's space with stuff, especially if we're not even fully aware of what that is, they're already picking up on that. They're already feeling it. So for me, like the foundation of getting really clear in our bodies, establishing safety, learning about how to safely be with horses and honor and respect them is like fundamental. And I loved that Hillary really, really like that's like a very important part of what she teaches, I'd say. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like you're not looking for these like massive moments, which I always don't, I'm not a big fan of in the healing spaces, you know, when people are looking for like big cathartic moments and
Yeah.
traumatic experiences. It's really like the softer, more subtle, more quiet experiences that happen when we can like attune to the space with horses. Because, you know, horses can have like, of course, they can have big moments, but like so much of the time when you spend like a long time period of time with horses just in observation, it's a lot of the time it's quiet, it's like nonverbal. You know, like you'll just see horses standing together, right? And it's like there's a lot that's happening, but they look like they're just sleeping or something.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So in your experience, have you found that it's more of a process or that it can be an instantaneous thing or some of both as
Yeah,
far
I'd,
as
I'd
like
say
healing goes?
yeah. I always say to people that you really like, so because to me horses are multi-dimensional beings, you know, so like when you're with horses, is just one horse, but like in a herd that like amplifies times, right? But to me the experience with horses is such a multi-sensory experience. So oftentimes in the moment you're really just having like potentially the physical experience where maybe you notice a feeling, or you see something or you hear something, or you know what I mean? And it's oftentimes like to me after where you start to process actually what was shared in the space or what moved or what you saw, what you felt, what you heard. So I feel like and to me with horses, they're in the present moment, but they also don't live in time and space in the same way that we do. So oftentimes I feel like the work, like the transference with horses will continue, sometimes for days, weeks, months, years, you know what I mean? Where you're like, "That horse is, like, staying with me,
Keep
like, what
going
is
back to that moment and,
yeah, like, what
yeah,
was
taking
that?"
new
Right?
things away from it.
Yeah, so I feel like, it's both and, like, I think that sometimes people, and I'm such a big supporter of, like, allowing things to take time, and so you may have an experience where you're with horses and you're like, "Nothing happened," and
Yeah.
I'm like, "Okay," we'll leave it there for a little bit and we'll see what
Yeah.
happens. And, I have a lot of background in that because even in psychic work, sometimes someone does a reading and it's like nothing came through, or like I didn't really get anything from that or whatever. And it's like later on stuff that's like, sometimes I'll hear from people years later, like, oh, that thing that you
Wow.
shared that really didn't make sense. Like, yeah, it makes sense
No,
now.
it does. Huh,
Yeah, so I
interesting.
feel like horses are the same because, yeah, when we're not looking for proof of something, then we can open to, like, really allow what's supposed to happen or what we need to have in that moment. So, yeah.
Yeah. Tell us, if you want to, a little bit about how did you get into psychic medium work? Is that something that was like you grew up that was normal to you? Is it something that kind of developed over time?
So I think that, we're becoming more and more we're understanding so much more about like human emotions and human psyche and developmental stuff, like we're really like so much is starting to come up that makes a lot of sense. But I was definitely a very, very sensitive child, and I was very aware of a lot of what was going on. Some of it was hypervigilance because I didn't feel very safe, like, beautiful, lovely life, family, but my parents argued a shit ton. And sometimes it was like extremely emotionally chaotic and we, moving, and my mom didn't really feel safe. And I just perceived a lot of that
Yeah, it's heavy
through
for
that
kids.
lens of like, I'm not safe. Yeah. And I was always a very empathic, sensitive, psychic child. So I would sort of pick up on stuff. And then, a result of that, which I find happens a lot, is that I had a lot of night terrors and sleepwalking, sleep talking, like
Hmm.
really, like a not a relaxed system.
Really unsettled. Yeah.
Yeah, so, I saw a lot, like, I would see spirits and had a lot of spirits talking to me, and there were a lot. I mean, in Malaysia especially, there's a lot of spirit activity. There's, a lot of reasons why that could be, but, this is just like a disrupted field. So, there's a lot of sort of, like, activity that would happen, and so I was really aware of all of that, which was kind of present from like my dad would always talk that like I would sit with my dad and have these like just tell him all sorts of like wild stories about certain things. And like my mom had family that she didn't know about, that no one had ever talked about, and I like told her all this stuff about them that lived in Australia, and she didn't know about that until like 20 years later. So there, it's kind of like a mixture of like that hypervigilance of a disrupted system with actually like really tuned in kind of abilities. But it was very intense for me, obviously. And so I ended up like the way that I understand it is that I actually developed eating disorders in my like very early teens, and it was pretty really quite severe. So I was like pretty bulimic and anorexic for about 10 years. And to me, it makes total sense because eating disorders is like you're trying to control what you
Yeah.
feel. And so that was like the best way for me to like shut it all down. So
The one place in all that chaos that there was order, probably.
the total order, and obsessive control, and like, yeah, controlling your body. Right. And so that was really very present for me until my early when I moved to Vancouver. And then I ended up studying holistic nutrition through like a very synchronistic way. Like I did my undergrad in psychology, and then I was kind of like figuring out what to do next. And I was working at Whole Foods, and there was a woman that I was really good friends with. And she was like, I feel like you would really enjoy this program that I'm doing. And she was studying holistic nutrition. And so I went and like met the school director, and like the program was starting in like 3 days or something. And I
Yeah.
already, how I told you, like things happen quickly with me. It's like
Yeah.
thing. So
Keeping the pattern going.
yeah. So yeah, I just like had a meeting with the director of the school, and it was like, I think we had a previous lifetime together because it was like, we were like, hold on, like we know each other. Like, this is
Very
weird.
familiar.
And so I signed up there on the spot for the 2-year program. And that really made a huge, like totally changed the trajectory for me, because that really allowed me to heal, like really heal the nutrition, the food side, and start to rewire my
That's
brain
huge
around.
too.
Yeah. So kind of through that, it's kind of funny to watch the journey, but I ended up moving to Dubai for a while and was working for a juice company as like their head nutritionist. And I had a lot of like high profile clients, and I would be sitting with them, talking to them about because the thing is that like emotional stuff is so connected to nutrition, right? And like health and
Yeah.
wellness. And so I would be like talking to them about their nutrition, but then I would like know a lot of other things about them. And
Mm,
for me, as my eating disorder started to really leave, like that energy left, it was like everything kind of started coming back in.
mm.
I would just know things that I really should not know about these people. And so I started to kind of like just unknowingly develop that muscle again, and then moved back to Vancouver. And again, like synchronistic events, ended up connecting with a doctor who was a intuitive and taught intuition.
Mm-hmm.
And so then I kind of started to like go on the journey of training in psychic work and doing all those things and mediumship training. And so then I worked in that, and then I followed that trajectory for a decade.
And then how does that now merge with what you're doing with horses, if it does at all?
Yeah, I mean, the way that it all kind of works now is that, I feel like I say that I'm a psychic medium because that's the easiest way to kind of describe what I
That
do.
people understand it.
But it really is, it's just so integrated into who I am now that it's me, So
Mm-hmm.
people come and work with me. They're not just working with the horses, they're working with my energy field. I don't pop in and out of the hats or the roles. They're just
Yeah.
all here. So if it's a space of permission and safety, then I'll just share things as they come. I think this is like a thing that is becoming again more of a thing, but it's just who I am. And I feel like it's kind of like our journey of life is like becoming who we are, right? And so
Yeah.
sort of go through these different experiences, and we're like, bring this thing in, and we bring this thing in, and then we
Yeah.
become that. But it's like we're just kind of like the peeling the layers to get to that most true point of who we are, which to me is the same as my horses, like who they've been, what they've done, where they've lived, who's owned them. Like my journey with them is like, I just want you to be you, and like whatever that looks like. Maybe right now we're working with a layer of trauma that's connected to your past. And that's actually part of your medicine right now. But like my biggest intention is always just like, I just want you to be you, whoever you are.
Yeah. And it is so interesting because we really like to compartmentalize in our world. We like to put labels on everything, including like our own identity. And so that is a really interesting piece to be. And horses too, we put all those labels on horses.
Yeah.
So that is really interesting and good to like take in that holistic view, to take in that whole view of us and use all the pieces, not feel like we have to only have this piece at this time and this piece in
Yeah.
this environment. So let's talk more about the horses and
Yeah.
just kind of some of the things some of the notes you made about how that relationship is evolving, living with horses, things we can do for them, all
Yeah.
that.
Um, yeah, I mean, I think that it's such a gift to live with your horses, because
Yeah.
there's no disconnection. Like you're not really clocking in and clocking out. Like they're just always there. Like before we hopped on, I was just with them, and I'll go out and see them right after. So, and there's challenges to that, right? Because I think when we're living with our horses and they're so integrated into our lives, then we really do get called out on our shit, because they're so present, they're so attuned. So like, for instance, and I love that podcast is called Touch of a Mustang.
The touch of a Mustang.
Because
Yeah.
to me, like that's my herd because we have 4 domestic horses and then Sahara is our Mustang. And so she's like, she's brought in this like a touch of a Mustang energy. And, she's such a potent being because like, and part of it is definitely like that Mustang energy where she's just a lot more present to what's going on around her. That survival part of her brain is more active than the others. But like if I'm out of alignment or like not super grounded, and she has like a stare. She can be like far away from you, but she'll
Yeah.
just like stare and hold it. And you'll just be like, I know, so
Okay.
yeah. And it's like, it's not, we know with horses, it's not judgment, but it's like, it's just very clear observation where
Awareness.
yeah, she's just like, I'm keeping my space from you for a while,
Yeah.
So I feel like if we can really allow ourselves to have that intimate relationship with them where we are willing to see what they're seeing and not from a place of judgment within ourselves, but really just like reflective awareness can be so powerful because they're such expanders. Like I think about this even just from the perspective of like how much I've grown since all of these horses arrived and I've been doing this work. Like it's really quite remarkable when I sit with myself and see how much I've grown because yeah, horse guardianship's not easy, like
It's
from
not.
the multiple ways that we can look at it.
Yeah.
But I feel like they kind of hold us to the vision. Like, and that's what I've always felt with Raziel is he's just like this is what's happening. So, and he just holds, I always feel like with him in particular, he holds it very steady. But that's the thing with each of the horses' medicine, like they each bring something different, like Stevie, my little Arabian mare, she had a really, really bad fence accident on December 1st of last year, just a couple months ago, where she must have double barreled into the fence, being playful, got her hinds caught in the top of the fencing, obviously panicked, totally like lacerated her left hind really severely. So I came out in the morning
No.
to feed them and yeah, like full like panic, frozen. It's been a journey. She was in the vet hospital for 7 weeks.
Oh, I bet.
Yeah. So, but she's now finally at a place where she can be out in the paddock. So she's out in the paddock with everyone right now, having a great time. I posted a video because like we were kind of at that point where the vet still wants her to be stalled and bandage changes all the time and stuff. And I'm like, this girl's got to move. Like if
Yeah, she's probably going crazy.
and she's been so good. Like she's just been so good, which is so her. She's just an absolute angel.
Mm,
But I know it's like that, the holistic, right? It's that balance. Like, yes,
yeah.
immobilize the leg, but for her to heal, she has to feel good in her body.
Right. There's a mental, emotional aspect also. Yeah, for
So
sure.
I had this moment like 10 days ago where the vet was here and I was just like, can I let her out in the paddock, please? And I could just feel Stevie was like, she was relaxed on the outside, but inside she was like, let this go. I need to go. And it was just crazy because I knew she needed to like shake it off. And so I just was like, Stevie, I trust you. Be gentle. Don't injure yourself. And
Stay away from the fence.
yeah. And so for like 10 minutes, she just like went wild. But it was like really so beautiful to watch her reclaim because it's like she hasn't really been able to shake off the trauma of that experience in her own body. But, I'm sharing this because the way that she kind of teaches me or holds me, like Stevie's confidence or Stevie's medicine is all about like confidence and really, really deep knowing, like profound knowing. She's, young, but when you're with her, you're like, you feel like you're standing with this cute, very beautiful, sweet kind of ballerina Arabian,
Yeah.
but you're also standing with this like mysterious kind of like older, like elder samurai sword wielding, like,
Yeah.
magician dragon or something. And you're like, I'm not sure.
Yeah.
Kind of feel like you're both. And whenever I've been like in a place of self-doubt or resisting growth, I find that she's been the one that kind of like will come in and sort of push me. And so even with this experience that's been, hard for all of us, but especially Stevie, I feel like she's held me to this place of like, I'm going to be okay. This is
Mm,
big growth for us and
yeah.
we're going to move through it. So, yeah, it's like I always say to people, like, living with your horses and being in like intimate partnership with them is like the greatest gift ever. And it's going to like totally challenge you in the biggest ways ever as well, you know?
Yeah. Have you found commonalities between breeds at all? Just because I also have an Arabian, and so much of how you're describing Stevie
Yeah.
is like very reminiscent of my Arabian. Just like she will do anything you ask her to. She will
Yeah.
face anything, even if she's like, you can see if she's terrified inside and she'll still be willing to do it. Not like my Mustangs. They're like, heck no, don't even try. And so it's really interesting to see, to kind of like hear some of what you were saying about her, because it seems
Mhm.
a lot like my Arabian, where it's like she's very brave, she's
Yeah.
very stoic,
Yep.
and also, you know, has that fun fire and kind of,
Playful.
yeah, and also kind of like an older spirit in a way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that, you know, of course, there's the ancestry, there's the ancestral breed lines. You know, I always feel like with an Arabian, specifically, them being like the oldest breed, that
Yeah.
they have that. They carry that like old wisdom. And so it does make sense to me. I think that it's so funny because I feel like it's always there's nuance, and if we can get caught up in there, like because we'll
Yeah.
stereotype, you know.
Right.
So
Don't make those compartments.
yes, yeah. So
Yeah.
like we brought Stevie to the vet that morning, and the vet and the vet techs were like, "God, an Arabian," like because
Mm.
Arabians to stall them or is
Yeah,
not.
they have a bad rep.
But like at the end, they were like,
Wild spirited.
best Arabian we've ever met in our lives.
Really?
Yeah,
Mm.
she is and she isn't because it's like, and you know, I think it's like our ancestry, like the same, you know, with humans and like where we come from and what lands we're from. But yeah, I mean, definitely like characteristics, like even with Dreamer, he's a medicine hat. So his markings are the traditional medicine hat. I have a friend who also has a medicine hat. And when she met Dreamer, she's like, yeah, it's totally a medicine hat. Like they are gonna take you on a journey of spiritual growth, whether you're ready for it or not. It's like
Yeah.
they're take you to the edge. And Raz is a Tennessee Walker, and he definitely has similar qualities that I've heard of that are similar. And, you know, Mustangs too. I mean, I'm definitely somewhat new to Mustangs. Like, Mustangs were not on my radar at all. Like, I've
Yeah.
always been very in awe of them and, you know, have known for some time about the situation with the wild
Yeah.
horses, BLM, and all this. But I think it was just like, I think because we don't have a huge property. We've got like 12 acres. For me, I'm like, I need like 5 million acres for Mustangs.
Yeah.
But I did a Mustang immersion in April of last year with Michelle Peterson. I don't know if you've,
Oh, yeah.
yeah, she's a good friend. And George, who he lives in, his name is just George. He's got a last name. He lives in Colorado, but
Okay. Yeah, I've seen him. I don't know him
he's
personally, but yeah.
lovely. Lovely, lovely soul, very, very passionate about the Mustangs and protecting them. And so he's got a really special herd of Mustangs. And so I went and did an immersion with them and like didn't really know why I was going. Like, Love Michelle was like, yeah, I'll come. But I don't tend to do group stuff. So it was a little bit out of character for me. But I was like, yeah, I'm just going to go and just follow what feels like. And I had a really beautiful experience with just being with such a big herd of Mustangs and like being in their frequency because they are so different to domestic horses. So I really just like felt in awe. Like that was the feeling. I'm just like, just being with these great spirits, like they just have such a regalness about them. And there were two horses in particular that really impacted me. But one of the horses, she's this beautiful, like sorrel mare, just like very big presence and kind of the lead mare of that herd. Her name is Khaleesi, perfect name. And I felt a really big connection with her, and she kept coming up to me. And I had this moment where I was just sitting on the ground and she came up to me and the thought dropped into my mind, one of us is coming to you. And at the time I was sort of like, I don't, you know, I was just there again, like
Whatever. Yeah.
with horses, like you're having the physical experience and then weeks, months later, you're like, what was that about actually? So I sort of like left, not sure what that was. And even after was like, am I supposed to adopt Khaleesi? Like, and I even investigated, just asked a little bit, but every time I tried to envision her with my herd, it was just a hard no. Like, she would totally disrupt the peace because she is such a powerful mare, and my boys, I don't know if they would be down with that. So anyways, I let it be, totally like let it go. And then about maybe a week later, a friend of mine reached out, shared with me about a Mustang that she thought could be available for adoption and wondering if I would be interested. And I was like, no, I'm not trying to get another horse. See a picture and of Sahara, and I was like, I need to know more. I need to know more. Yeah. So, yeah, it's been so, it's been so amazing. She came in July. The way, just everything about her journey and like her coming to join us and the impact that she's had on the herd, and every single retreat that we've done since she's arrived, she has been at the forefront of really impacting people because she's so special, and the way that she holds herself, like her presence, even if you don't touch her, like, and that's for me, I'm really strict, may not be the right word, but it might be the right word. I'm really clear with people that when it comes to physical touch with horses, they have to choose.
Yeah.
And especially in this kind of space where you're coming into their home and their space.
Intentional. You're very intentional.
Yeah, there we go. And I have like Dreamer is like kind of not about touch, like maybe sometimes, but most of the time it's too much for him. So oftentimes people won't touch Sahara and they'll just be like, I had a woman who's came to visit from Australia. She messaged me the other day. She was here in August. She was Sahara's first retreat. And she's like, I think about that horse daily. It's pretty remarkable. And I also feel like, especially, with all horses, I feel like when I'm in their presence, I'm just like, thank you for allowing me to be in your, But with Mustangs in particular, like Sahara was born in the wild. She was rounded up when she was 4 or 5. So I'm just like mad respect. Like, really have nothing. And that was my biggest thing with her, because her previous owner who adopted her from holding, I think good intention, great heart, but like not the right person, and had a lot of expectation and agenda, like the Mustang challenge sort of thing. And to me, when I'm with Sahara, like she's got so much emotional awareness and intelligence. And I feel like with humans, if you aren't fully aware of your emotions, then for her, she's like, "No, I'm good." And not from a place of like rejecting you, but like kind of what I said before, where she's like, I see what's going on and I'm gonna give you your space. So I feel like with her, it's like truly my biggest thing is like, I really just want you to feel like you can be yourself. And it's such an interesting thing because she obviously can't be wild anymore. So I feel like that in and of itself is such an interesting thing to navigate, because that's like, it's a core wound, right? For like every single Mustang, like being removed from their homeland, their home herd, going through such a traumatic experience of being rounded up or chased and then held. It's like, to me, when you have a Mustang that no matter who they're being after and how they're showing up is incredible. And I think that's also a piece that is like such an impactful thing about horses, is that they go through so much with humans oftentimes, and yet they're still willing to be in relationship, is so powerful.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
It is incredible that they want to be with us, especially those horses who have not had good experiences with humans. But even any of them, I'm kind of like, why do you want to be around me? Like, I love that you do, but it's surprising to me still.
Yeah, I know. It is beautiful. You can feel that to me, it's like there's a divine partnership between horses and humans. It's like sacred contract is how I see it. And they've been willing to go on this journey with us. My feeling is that they're part of like a consciousness shift. They're actively a part of it. Like, you know what I mean? In terms of how like things are visibly changing, whether it seems like it's slow or fast, or sometimes slow, sometimes fast, like things are visibly changing. And I think they're a part of that shift. To me, even just watching a horse, like each of our horses when they arrive here, coming from like the sale barn circuit or sale barn world to like feeling safe, like that disassociation,
Yeah.
it's like that whole process is so revealing in terms of like how things are starting to shift for them as well.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I think that shift is really neat because, like, when I first got my Mustang, I was the owner that your horse had, probably feeling so much pressure that, like, you needed to be riding them in 90 days or, you need to be out on the trail with them in 90 days and just really destructive to the relationship. So, definitely something that I love is shifting that it's like, there's people who have horses that don't ride them or that do these other things with them or that do, just go and sit with them. And that those are all things that now it's like you can see that. So you don't have to just see the horses that are developing really cool skills.
yeah.
Maybe they love it, maybe at their detriment. So I love that there is that shift of our relationship with horses that it doesn't have to be any one thing. It can be kind of what feels good for us, what is working well for our horses. Talk to us a little bit more about work that you are doing with the horses and with people. What kind of people show up? One from your Instagram that I thought was so interesting was that your husband went out there and finally kind of connected with the horses, which I
Yeah.
was like, oh, there's hope. My husband's not a horse person. He puts up with them. He came in the other day and was bringing some chicken food or something. He's like, your horses would not leave me alone. They're
Oh
just
my
over there, like all in his face. I'm like, so maybe one day there's
yeah.
hope. But yeah, talk to me a little bit more about the work that you do with your horses and with other people
Yeah, with the husband piece. I mean,
too.
my Ferris, my husband, like really had no horse experience prior to meeting me, but it's funny, like his name is Arabic and it actually means horseman, which is very interesting.
Hmm.
So I'm like, it was written
That
in his.
sounds like destiny.
And when we got married on my family ranch in Alberta, and we had our neighbors' two horses, beautiful, like very, very happy Clydesdales that pulled a wagon with me and
Oh, wow.
so yeah, so horses have been around him, but he luckily got to like get it was like trickle because in the first chunk of our marriage, he just had like small moments before
Mhm.
he had the full influx of like living with them. But I think that like to me with Ferris in particular in that experience, like my whole thing has always just been like you don't have to do anything with them.
Yeah.
If you're drawn to something, feel free to like let me know. But it's been really sweet because of course like I kind of really teach him the foundations around just safely being around them and his own like learning how to be in his own body with that and navigating that because he had no really background with horses, definitely
Yeah.
like a little bit of normal fear. But that was interesting because it was sort of like one day he was just kind of like, hey, can I come with you out there? And I was like, oh, sure, let's
Yeah.
do it. And it was really so beautiful because it was like the horses were kind of waiting for him to come
Mm.
in that way. And from that video, that was such a unplanned moment that would ended up being very, very deeply impactful for Ferris.
Yeah.
I think that it's like their own experience that they get to, whether they're open to it or not, you know?
Yeah, for
And
sure.
I think the piece around horses is that, like, whether we know or not, we feel stuff when we're around horses. And
Mm.
maybe we're not ready to feel you know what I mean? I think that
Yeah.
can be a part of it. Like,
Yeah, for sure.
without knowing the language or the verbiage around what is actually happening that, now everyone knows like horses' heart fields and, coherence and blah, blah, blah around all this, but it's always been there. We just haven't known what it is. So, but yeah, in terms of what we do, like our biggest thing is that we host retreats. So people will come and stay on our land. We have two cabins in our back pasture. And so you'll stay for 3 nights, we can customize it for longer. And really, like, you're just being fully immersed in the space. So I really intuitively customize like what we may work with. And I always say, like, just like the horses, I really don't do well with agenda. Maybe someone comes with an intention, but really my biggest thing that I hold is that we're just going to show up and see what starts to unfold because again, like we don't need to have the words for it. The energy knows what to do. So, and I'm a big supporter of like having time within your own system, within your own energies. The cabin are sort of like located in an area where you're by yourself,
Yeah.
which I love. I would always seek out experiences that,
Oh,
like
yeah.
when I was younger, I'm a writer and I'm like, I published 2 books. For me, like having total silence and like being 100% alone, I'm a manifestor in human design. So it's actually like very important for me, where it's just like you're just immersed in your own energy and you kind of get to go on a bit of a
Yeah.
journey. So that's really the design of this place is.
Yeah. And that's kind of hard to find in the world
Yeah,
today, It's like
yeah.
always so around pressing in.
Yeah. So my thing is like when you come here, you just kind of like you're sort of invited slash forced to let go of control.
Mm.
We cook like all of your lunch and dinner, and I bring it to your cabin. You have everything that you need for breakfast, coffee, blah blah blah. And the cabins are so very cute design and
Yeah.
very homey, and have like tarot oracle cards, books, like all sorts of books, so that you're just like really in that space of not being distracted and being in the energy of a herd, right? Because like the horses are kind of walking around the cabin, and then we do 2 sessions a day for about 2 to 3 hours, where sometimes it's like we're just working on the energy, like within the energy field of the herd. Sometimes we're actually going and being in the space with the horses and seeing what comes up, who steps forward, what they bring forward, mirroring, reflection, like all of the things. We kind of pull from all of the pools of knowledge and practice around animal communication, psychic work, healing, somatic work, horse medicine, whatever is available. And it's beautiful because I always have people arrive the day before we start, because I always feel like the integration and just landing is really important, to just have that time
Yeah.
where you unplug from your life. And sometimes it's uncomfortable in the beginning, you're kind of like,
Oh,
what do
yeah. I
I do?
bet.
Like,
Yeah.
yeah.
Jittery
And
coming
then people are
down
like, "Oh,
from
so what's the plan today?" I'm like, "Nothing, you're just
this
chill."
is it. You're doing it. Yeah.
That you can read a book, you can go for a walk, you can sit in meditation, you can drink a lot of coffee, like
Which is so
whatever
good to
you.
have. Yeah.
Yeah,
Cause
yeah,
it seems like always there's something in the world at large. We're
yeah.
supposed to always have an agenda.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, so that's kind of like the nutshell, and we all work together, the horses, myself, my dogs, the birds. Sometimes
Yeah.
the wildlife comes in and plays a role, and or the land itself. And yeah, it's like I call it like a medicine journey. Like I always loved vision quests, like that idea of you going out into the wild, not bringing your comforts, and like going on a spiritual journey of being guided or led to for transformation. So it's a little bit of that, but maybe not as intense, because
I
you're
was
not.
gonna say yours does sound a lot more comfortable
I'm a
and
little.
enjoyable to
You've
me.
got some comforts. Yeah, I'm not just
Yeah.
putting you in the middle of nowhere with a rattlesnake. And then we do other sorts of like if you want to just come for the day, or you live close and you want to do like a 2-hour session. That's yeah. So there's lots of different things, but really it's all just like you're working with me, you're working with my herd, and there's like some rhyme and reason to it. And oftentimes we're just like fully in the unknown, diving in and like letting the horses kind of guide the way. And I always say to people, like, I love this because, when I was just working by myself, I was still doing that, but it was just me. But now I get to hold the space with the horses, and like the humility of it is like, I don't know anything and I don't pretend to know everything. And so I really pay attention to what the horses are showing me. And because I know my horses quite well, I can kind of infer a lot just based off of what they're doing, how they're responding, who's showing up, what they're saying or sharing with me. It's like they're already kind of giving me a lot of information about what is present for this person. Where is their nervous system at? What are they available for? What's going to be too much for them? What we be going through together? So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Do you find the people that are drawn to your retreats, are there similarities? Are they often going there because they want healing? Are they just feeling overwhelmed? Are they just curious?
It tends to be varied. I find that some people, I mean, yes to everything you just said.
Yeah.
I think that some people, and I find it's kind of 50-50. Like some of them are horse folks who are interested in just having a different experience with horses. And
Hmm.
then like some of the folks are like, don't have none to very little experience with horses, but have always been interested, always been drawn to horses.
Mm.
And I think that I do notice that there's a good percentage of people who have a similar desire or vision for whether it's like having a homestead with horses or living in
Mm.
harmony with horses or rescuing, adopting rescues and just being with them. And so, because I think that one piece that I've heard time and time again with myself, and I think this is kind of like in my human design as a manifestor, I'm the type of person where I don't wait for permission to do things. I just do it. I just really follow what feels right. And like kind of rebellious. Like if someone tries to control me,
Yeah.
then I'm going to do the other thing. And so one thing that my energy field does for people is it kind of does a lot. It's like I'm an expander where I do offer
Opens
them
them up.
permission. Yeah. 'Cause
Mhm.
they're like, "Oh, I can do this." I'm like, "Yeah, of course you fucking can." I'm not saying it's going to be easy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like
Right, yeah.
that for me, the most like authenticity has always been super important for me. I really detest performance and like again, it's like horse people, like incongruence. I sense that really quickly and it
Mhm.
sends me in the other direction. I'm like Sahara.
Yeah, I don't wanna be around you right now.
Yeah,
You work on that for a little bit.
that's right.
Yeah.
So I feel like sometimes that's something that people it's like when I went to Hillary's, 15 years ago and was like, this is it. This is possible.
Yeah.
And I do notice that more and more people are being drawn to a life like this where,
Yeah.
it's like it makes me feel really excited because I think that more people being called to live with horses. Like if we think about historically, pre-war, a lot of people had horses, didn't they? More for use,
Yeah.
like whether it was for farming or transportation, but that was kind of a normal thing. Whereas like nowadays it's not very normal to have horses. Like if you're in a group of folks and you say you have horses, you're usually
Yeah.
unless you're in a horse community, they're like, "Oh, wow, you have horses?" Like that's so
Mhm.
cool. So I feel like to me, horses, like a movement can be or might be that more and more people buy land and have horses. And, one of my, like something that was coming up for me when I was with Frodo, my horse. I haven't mentioned Frodo.
No, we haven't talked about 'em.
Frodo. He just melts me. He's our oldest. He was at the Bowie auction as well.
Mm.
I always say like he like entered my heart when I didn't know that there was no space for him and he was just like came in
I'm
the back.
coming in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I was really not planning to fall in love with him at all the way that I did. And he really like he impacts everyone that comes because he is just like safety. He just
Mm.
like vibrates safety and love. Him and Raziel are similar. They're both like, and they kind of work together, which is really beautiful. So if Raziel is with someone, like working with someone, then Frodo will come and hold the space for him and vice versa. So they definitely have similar systems, but I would say Frodo is like even I will lie in front of Frodo with no worries, like ever. He's just like complete safety.
Mm.
And he was a trail what I know was that he was a trail horse. I don't know where. That's the thing with auctions, like where did they come from?
Yeah.
Feel like he came from pretty far, somewhere maybe on the East Coast, and he had a torn DDFT, pretty severe ring bone, so, like pretty progressive
Mm.
arthritis, and it was like kind of it was unsure. We were unsure if he was gonna be okay, like
Mhm.
be able to manage. So he was with Sweet Mercy for a little bit, and they did injections and PRP injections and all that and he helped his tendon get better. But so he's like has a lot of physical pain and discomfort.
Mm.
He manages that, but he's just like a total heart horse. And he gives like I'll get very like deep downloads from him. I always call him like a drive-by shaman because
Mm.
like you'll just be like sitting down with him and then like he'll just like kind of come and be with you for a minute and like deep breathe and then walk away and then you'll be like what just happened? You know what I mean? Like he's like you can
Yeah.
thank me later or something, you know what I mean? He's just like so I
Yeah.
just love him to death. But
Oh.
he I was sitting with him the other day and, like crying and I just had this big feeling that more people are going to, like, there's going to be a change in consciousness and our belief systems about horses, where it's just going to be normal that you have horses and maybe don't ride them, because it's just like you just get, it's like a gift that you get to have these beings just outside, and that they're there and you like co-create life together, and they share wisdom with you, and they help to harmonize the land, and they, like all of these incredible gifts that they have. And it's not even like a thing, of like, do I ride them, do I not?
Yeah.
It's just like, it just is. And
Yeah.
and I feel like that's something, that I like manifest and vision for the horse human world. Because, and again, it's like no shade on riding. I think that some riding horses is beautiful, and I'm very grateful for that experience. But I think that that's the piece, is like, it just doesn't even come up for me. It's
Yeah.
not even like a thing that I think about. I'm like, when people, sometimes like neighbors will go by or like drive by and be like, when you gonna ride them horses?
Yeah.
And I'm like, never, It's like, it's just an interesting, I don't know, it's like an interesting consciousness shift. So, yeah.
Yeah, and I think it is interesting because in the past, like we kind of talked about, horses were used to like help people live their lives, to get food or to transportation. And I think now one of the biggest needs in the world is our emotions, and our minds are just so broken right
Yeah.
now. And I've certainly experienced where it's like you go with a horse and it's not even that they necessarily do anything, but somehow you figure out like how you can settle your mind and find those pieces that you need to bring better things into your life and to find the peace or to make the changes that you need to make. So I can absolutely see how they could. I mean, they are so valuable for that, right? It's just like people don't know yet. Like, I want you to know. I think that's a big thing I felt like. I wish more people knew that, just spending time with horses, like, you will feel better.
Yes, totally. Totally. So many cool, amazing stories. I mean,
Yeah, it's
every
beautiful.
day,
Yeah.
I feel like I'm so moved by it. Like, and that's, I think it's like living with horses. It's like there's a repetitiveness to the routine, of like
Yeah.
waking up, feed the
The
horses,
rhythm.
pick up the food, do the things, fill the water, blah, blah, blah. But there's like, it's like constant miracles at the same time. And I think that
Yeah.
also the piece that is, kind of like the beauty, the gift. It's like, even, it's like that, the idea of like chop wood, carry water, right? Like
Mhm.
horses are very routine based beings,
Yeah.
like in terms of the cycles, like they're very in tune with nature and they follow the cycle.
Yeah.
And so I feel like when we live with horses, we do get brought into that deeper connection with nature, because if we're living with them in a way where we're actually interacting with them and participating in their care and guardianship,
Mhm.
I think it's different if you just like, they're just out and you not don't ever really go to them unless you're going to ask something of them, which is, I think, sometimes what some folks with horses that have like a
Yeah.
huge property, and they're on grass, they have pond for water. That's it. We just go and get them to ride, or to, for the ferry or for the vet. So I think that like that is also another aspect of being in partnership with horses, is like that deep invitation to be more in connection with nature, and
Yeah.
to be in more presence with our own nature, and that's like, it is that piece, because like you just said, it's like they're always going to show us what's true. Whether it's like, I'm actually, like maybe Stevie's a good example of this. Like, I won't know that I'm tired and maybe feeling a little bit spicy until she like checks me, whether she like nibbles me on the side or like, slows down the process. And then you're,
Mhm.
oh, okay, I'm actually not feeling good right now. So I feel like it's like, I always say like horses are like tuning forks. Like they're gonna show you what's out of alignment, and then like help to bring it back into alignment if
Yeah.
you're willing to meet them there. Uh, but yeah, we've had it where our horses are right outside our front door. So it's like they're just there.
Part
I
of
mean,
your life.
yeah, it was wild how, before we started the retreats, Frodo used to just be by himself, so he was in, like, the house paddock, and if I was ever in here doing sessions, I would start to hear, like, stomping, and I'd look outside the window, and Frodo has positioned himself, like, parallel to the wall. Only when I'm doing sessions, like, readings or
Interesting.
something, and he's like, "I'm holding the energy, I'm here with you," you know?
Yeah.
I was, like,
Yeah.
talking friend, he'd go away. But it's like if I was in a reading or a session and I feel like he's like, bring it outside.
I'm right here. Come on. You're
Yeah.
making this harder than it needs to be.
He's like, if I could be in the house, I would, you know?
Yeah.
So yeah, it's just, it's so mad. It's like, and I think that for me is like doing this, living this life and doing this in this way is like really about reconnecting to that inner child because and it is funny how sometimes I feel more my younger self now than ever before because I really am
Mm,
living the way that I wanted to, and like sometimes
yeah.
have experiences of, but then will get pulled from it. Yeah, this is it. This is that inner child dream. Or just like
Yeah.
God, the horses are right out the door. Spend all the day in my paddock. Like
Amazing, right? What we all kind of hope for is to go
yeah,
back to our childhood when life felt simple and
yeah,
peaceful and yeah, at least
yeah.
those moments in our childhood. Not that all childhoods are like that, but
No, totally. Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, and just that piece of living with the horses I think is so interesting because you talked about picking up manure or whatever. Sometimes those are the places where I'm like, I just got what I needed, while you're cleaning up poop.
Yeah. Yeah. Picking up poo is one of the most meditative and like expanding experiences. Yeah. It's
Yeah.
the best. Yeah.
Yeah, it's really interesting.
Yeah. How many horses do you have? I'm just curious.
I have 4,
Okay.
and then 3 of them are Mustangs and then 1 Arabian.
And where are you?
Colorado.
You're in Colorado. Okay.
Tell everyone where they can find you, how they can take advantage of the work that you're doing.
I love it. Yeah. So my website is channeledbychloe.com and my Instagram is channeled by Chloe. And our ranch Instagram is Three Spirit Ranch. I tend to like share on both if it's like stuff to do with retreats and whatnot. But yeah, I'm a one woman show. So like if you message or email or whatever, like you get access to me, not a robot, which is different now.
Nice. I know. I know.
And
It's nice that it's not like that with everybody.
it's so funny. I've like always resisted the efficiency, like just being an efficient. It's just like I'm old. I'm kind of old school. I'm definitely like an old woman in a younger person. Like
Yeah.
the last woman that was here for a retreat, she was like, are you an elder? I'm like, maybe.
Yeah.
Told that as a child. But yeah, so and everything that, I always will share videos and stuff. Like I've always enjoyed Instagram. If you look at I've got like 8,000 posts or something because I've been creating and posting on there for, 10 plus years. And I always have loved it because it's a really great place for me to kind of like download, drop a little piece of writing,
Yeah.
and I do enjoy sharing. For me, being able to like share little snippets of our herd and our horses and to know that people, like when Stevie had her accident, it was really like moving to see how many people like love her, even people that
Yeah.
have never met her because they felt her presence from afar. And like, I know so many people were like sending prayers and like holding the vision of her healing and like sending Reiki. It was so beautiful to receive that. And to witness like the impact, the ripple effect of Stevie
Yeah.
to be who she is and like share that. So yeah, so everything that is on Instagram so is written by me. It's such a stupid thing, but like it's kind of a thing nowadays, isn't it?
Yeah, no, it totally is. You can usually tell, but so
I feel like it's getting harder and harder, but
yeah, I think it is. I mean, they're trying to get more sophisticated. It's
we are.
a weird, sad, interesting,
It's
I don't
an
know,
interesting
change.
time. It's an interesting.
Yeah.
And then I have a shop called Nightwing Goods where I sell like all sorts of magical, mystical goods. So I create a lot of my own candles. And so we have like
Oh,
horse
cool.
medicine candles that are representative of each horse and apparel and all sorts of fun. I do like a lot of paintings and channeled horse paintings and stuff. And I also have my book there if you're interested in reading more about my story. Like
Cool.
I would say like the first half of my story is my psychic memoir, and it's called Revealed by Darkness. So yeah, lots of fun stuff. I
Yeah.
always love talking to new people because I feel like it opens up a space also for new information to come through. Even for myself as I'm speaking, I'm like, oh yeah, that makes sense. So
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
always fun. So thank you.
Yeah, it was great talking to you. And I love what you're doing. I especially loved the piece you talked about how you kind of give people permission to,
Yeah.
be themselves or follow the path that maybe like you can kind of feel inside, but everyone's like, no, that's crazy. We definitely took some crazy steps in our life that people are like, what are you doing?
Yes.
And so to open that up for people, I think is incredible because I'm definitely a semi-recovered people pleaser.
Oh, yeah.
Trying to like fit in those boxes. So to
Mm.
have that space where you can kind of be free again, and you kind of talked about childhood. And I think that's a lot of what childhood is, when you're just like outside, being open to the world and just kind of being there. And I think we lose so much of that. And that's really what, as you were describing what you offer people, that seemed to be like it's a place where you
Mhm.
can go and kind of reconnect with yourself. So much in the world pulls us away from that, or tells us like, no, that part is not right. So kind of push that aside.
Yeah.
I love that you provide that for people, and just an opportunity for people to see horses and a different way to live with them. I think that is, I have kind of a love hate with social media, with having kids and stuff. But
Yes.
I do love that aspect of it, that we can see inside other people's lives. There are other ways to live that
Mm.
maybe is not typical. You're not seeing it all the time, but maybe that feels what's right for you. So it's cool to be able to see that and see the work you're doing with horses. And it was great to chat with you. And thanks so much for being here.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Your greatest asset and your greatest barrier is your mind. I offer individualized coaching opportunities for those wanting to understand how you can turn your mind from an enemy to an ally so you can achieve your goals and live the life you dream of. Visit thetouchofamustang.org for more information. Thank you for joining us and learning about horses that heal and the humans who help them. We hope you'll continue with us on this journey. We'd love for you to subscribe on your favorite platform and follow The Touch of a Mustang on any of the major social media outlets. Please share with your friends, anyone who loves horses, or anyone who might be struggling and could benefit from this message. If you have felt the healing power of horses or help them in their divinely appointed mission, please reach out. We want to hear your story. As we say goodbye, always remember that the horse is always there to help you heal.